teman-teman mahasiswa universitas-universitas di Jakarta dan juga di Indonesia, rekan-rekan desainer, arsitek, dan juga seluruh undangan yang hadir di acara pada siang hari ini. Welcome to Bika Talk Series No.1 dengan tema Useful Poetry, dengan menghadirkan pembicara hari ini yang sangat spesial, yaitu adalah Mr. Chi Wing Lo, selaku founder dari Dimensione Chi Wing Lo, Italy. Perkenalkan, nama saya Putra, selaku Managing Editor untuk majalah Casa Indonesia dan juga Luxury Properties Indonesia. Dan juga telah hadir bersama kita pada siang hari ini adalah Ibu Karina Cheng selaku Director of Bika Living. Dan mari bersama-sama kita sambut Ibu Karina Cheng untuk memberikan welcoming speech pada siang hari ini. Terima kasih.
Selamat siang para rekan arsitek dan interior designer, mahasiswa dan penggemar desain. Selamat datang di Bika Talk Series yang pertama. Kami sangat senang dalam mengumumkan kemitraan kami dengan Dimensione Chi Wing Lo Italia untuk Indonesia. The brand, immediately recognized by the tranquility and humility of the Oriental spirit and the refinement of the Italian craftsmanship, promises an exciting and engaging direction to complete the collection of curated furniture brands at Bika. Koleksi ini tersedia di flagship store kami di Kemang. Dan juga untuk melanjutkan lecture series ini, kami ada satu satellite exhibition di our store di ground floor juga di Bika. Untuk memastikan pengalaman total dalam peluncuran Dimensione Chi Wing Lo, Bika tidak hanya melakukan brand launching kemarin malam, tapi dengan bangga kami meresmikan sesuatu program edukasi kami, yaitu Bika Design Talk Series. Ini adalah sebuah program edukasi terbuka yang untuk umum, didedikasikan khusus untuk mahasiswa, arsitek, dan desainer, penggemar desain dalam industri kreatif yang ingin mengambil kesempatan inspiratif ini untuk berhubungan dengan isu terkini yang paling memprihatinkan dalam desain dan hidup ini. Chi Wing Lo, the first speaker in this series, will share his long journey of patient search in architecture, interior and furniture design, sculpture, and among other disciplines, along with his piercing observations and critical thoughts. Coming to Jakarta for the second time, Mr. Lo brought back again his passion in design and fondness in sharing his works with everyone interested in creative thinking. Recipient of World's Outstanding Chinese Designer Award in 2015, Chi Wing Lo's works encompass the fields of architecture, sculpture, interior, and furniture design. His prolific output has long been recognized in and beyond the eminent circle of contemporary Italian design for his evocativeness in thought, gracefulness in form, and meticulousness in every detail. He has been actively pursuing design in Italy for more than 2 decades. His aspirations for timelessness has brought his designs to international attention, and many of his earlier works continue to be much sought after today. Pada kesempatan ini kami juga ingin mengucapkan terima kasih akan sponsor dan pendukung kami, para siswa dan mahasiswa dari BINUS, LASAL, Trisakti, UPH, Raffles, UI, dan IKJ, and also our special coordination with HDI Jakarta, our sponsors Mayora Group and Plaza Indonesia, and our media partner Casa Indonesia. Terima kasih sedalam-dalamnya dari kami dari Bika atas kedatangan kawan-kawan sekalian, dan kami berharap bahwa acara ini dapat berguna bagi kita semua. Thank you, terima kasih.
Berikutnya adalah sekilas mengenai tokoh yang akan menyampaikan presentasi inspiratifnya bertajuk Useful Poetry, yaitu adalah Mr. Chi Wing Lo. Sekilas tentang Chi Wing Lo, ia adalah seorang desainer, peraih penghargaan The World's Outstanding Chinese Designer in 2015. Di tahun 2007, Chi Wing Lo was invited by the Hong Kong Design Center to contribute a design to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Hong Kong unification with China. also a lot of his signature debut in design industry, such as the art director for Giorgetti from 2000 and 2006. And then he was the chairman of the jury for the St. Petersburg Design Biennale in 2009. Dibesarkan di Hong Kong yang syarat dengan keunikan urban spasial, Chiwing Lo meraih gelar master untuk arsitektur di Universitas Harvard dengan tesis terbaiknya di tahun 1988. And now please welcome Mr. Chiwing Lo untuk memberikan welcoming speech kepada para hadirin yang hadir di acara Bika Talk Series No.1 kali ini. Please welcome Mr. Chiwing Lo.
Before wow, too loud. Could you lower a little bit? Could you lower the light a little bit? I cannot see the people. Lower the light a little bit. Before I start anything, I want you to look at these modern cathedrals. You know that you are under this big space in the center of Indonesia, I suppose, and this sort of left over for us for this event. And you understand the trust supporting the roof so that it does not fall down on your head. And then you realize that there's a lot of things connected this beam. And I've been studying a lot. I know that you're looking at the video, but I was looking at the structure here. And I still could not figure out if this is suspended from above or this actually is supporting the roof. I need to think about that. And then the air duct bringing the fresh air in and coming out from here. And all the cables are connected, to the what's it called, control box. And then on the other side, this the sprinkler system, which sort of left over, is almost like a piece of art on the wall. Huh? And then there's all these junction box connected all the electricity. You don't see them, in a public place like this, and I really appreciate to have set up in such a short time. And last time I was here at 12 o'clock, seeing them putting the first piece of wood where you're sitting on, and now when I came in, everything's in place, and this kind of happening, what could I say, is very much the way how we live in a city, and this has incredible reality in this sense. Okay, you study more afterwards. Could you put the first slide? First of all, I want to thank Karina. She think that an interaction of design with this generation of designer in Indonesia is very important. And I share with her intention, and so that we bring together to talk about some very fundamental thing about design, or why we design today, for what reason. It's not to get a job. You will eventually, but what's the bigger picture about design? Sometimes when I run into a problem or not knowing what to do or have some kind of difficulty, you want to look further, look beyond what is in front of you. And something could be as far as here. There's of course, you can talk about this for days, months. But what I want to draw your attention is that this is kind of taking a position. You are somewhere in the space of the universe, and the Earth here, galaxy, and all these things. And there's an incredible balance in the solar system at this time of the universe, because it's not too cold, it's not too hot. Human survive, plants survive, animal survive. And the light, amount of the light coming to the sun is helping the four seasons, having day and night. So we grow in a very harmonious way. This is a kind of balance, although in a time span of few million years, a few billion years, but in the universe, it's not a very long time. But we are continue living in this kind of balance, and yet we continue to upset this balance. This is one of the most touching paintings of Goya during the Civil War of Spain. Sometimes you wonder what kind of conflict you can have among individuals that you can come to this kind of resolution. Or now we have great amount of intelligence, technologies, and we believe that by pushing a button, we can terminate everything. But this kind of phenomenon seems to be forever, keep going in history. It repeating itself continuously since we remember history, since we remember ourselves. And I was trying to pose the first question to you. Are we become more intelligent now than before? More stupid than before? Or as stupid as before? Or as intelligent as before? This is a sculpture, wooden sculpture from Egypt. This is a contemporary figure. I just want to show you their brains, male and female, over a span of 5,000-6,000 years. And I was wondering, are we become more intelligent than before? Why we design? For me, the first question is searching for something. This is one of the main aim for me to search, to understand myself, who I want to be, where I want to live, to go old, to become part of what is around me, creating a very harmonious relationship of things that is around me. So this is one of my one of the projects I've been doing, to frame a little world around you, like a courtyard. The rain is your rain, your cloud, your sky, coming down to this space, and you feel like there's a world that allows you to look inward, that you can be away from the outside. An interior that sort of has that kind of purity, allow you just to interact with the light that is coming in and give it the kind of form, expression, and relations of space become more and more visible with the light changing during the day and night. I guess without the light, this will not be able to perceive as what that is, and the material that is being revealed under this light. So to create that inner world, to create that space that you feel part of it, being expressing your what you want, who you are, what you wanted to do. So all these, when you're doing the space around you, you think that way. You want to create that difference from what is outside. So you enter to another world. There's one project some years ago that I only tried to use material mostly in white color, white stones, marble, wood that has been bleached to white color. And in that composition, have that kind of purity of color and tone and texture from outside world. White stone, white leather, surface that has been lacquered white. And they have this kind of tonality that is from a kind of dark and light within that range So allow you to perceive the form much more different than the outside world you usually to perceive. There's a kind of a sense of ideal condition that you want to create, kind of something that you always want to detach, but at the same time a world that's completely on its own. When it comes to swimming pool, I always think, why don't we have a flooding, to flood the building, to just have that engagement of water and artifacts, where the flooding is actually become the swimming pool. So also, Korea interior is also to find that purity of material and forms to bring them together. So like you curate, you select those very precisely, the very important, as few elements as possible to create that condition you want to have. Then come to a project which is very, very dreamy, and I think even today for me it's extremely. I was given 5 years and unlimited budget for a house overlooking the Bosphorus. One side is Asia, the other side is Europe. And when the Bosphorus floating from the Sea of Marmara to go to the Black Sea, it makes this turn. And this house is right on the plateau, about 100 meters from sea level, to look back to the center of Istanbul. I was the architect, a landscape architect, furniture designer, interior, as well as a collection of artwork. 5 years was a luxury to do a project like that and be able to take care of different levels like this. And because of this project, I more and more realized that the continuity from one scale to the other, from architecture to interior, to landscape, to the finishing outside, they are so important to express that oneness of ideas that carrying from one scale to the other. This is actually a drop at the edge of the cliff. So when you look from the house, that nothing blocks your view, and actually that drop down is sort of prevent you from falling down when you go down to this space. And here allow you I create a kind of zigzag edge here to emphasize the horizon of the new business area of Istanbul. And around the edge is like that. And I select a tree, 350 years old olive tree, just to give the landscape, that thickness, a little articulation, and give the importance and respect of this age-old tree, kind of like a wise old man sitting on the landscape. And I consider that this is a world, because it's like a plateau that is overlooking everything. But at the same time, the whole vista from around it sort of bring it in to the house. And this allowed me to explore the theme of glass house, means a house that basically transparent, and the privacy, there's not an issue or anything. So with a very overhanging eave, the rain, the sun are being blocked, and allow every room to be able to enjoy what is outside, or to bring the distant view to be part of the interior. This is actually a bathroom. The kind of privacy coming from the stone through the translucent light and to diffuse in this, and the kind of changing tone that matches with the darker stone. This is a bathtub. That is like the house is an inner world. That's another level inner world, another sort of, you get in inner part of the house. It's from the bathroom looking back to the bedroom area, to the sea. There's another interior from the interior, which is also I consider it's like a ritual of something. It's like, I call it tempietto. It's like a little temple. Instead of the temple of Bermente in Rome, it's a temple for wine. I don't drink wine, but to design something like this is also, because you don't drink, so you end up become very pure to how to put the bottle the best way, how to lit up, something like that. And it houses about 400 bottles of wine. It is completely insulated, and also it has a temperature control, the wine can age. And I designed a very special furniture here, where you put it on top, and you turn the table, and the bottle of wine will open, and you taste it, you like it, you bang it, you don't like it, you open another one. So this another level of interior upon interior. This is a house I live in Athens, and I just told one of the friends, this house took me 9 years to build. The reason why is because, I tell you later. The house is in the middle of the city. When you get out, it's the center of everything, with all the activities of daily life happening outside. So what I did was I put a fabric screen outside, just let the light go through it so it becomes soft. Because in Athens, the light is extremely, extremely strong. So to soften this light is so important, and so that the heat will not be able to enter the house, only the light to soften it. I work here most of the time. Here, you can see these are the screen from outside, and go through a kind of perforated floor, and the heat of the sun will just rise without directly hitting the window, and the interior is much softer. And there's another idea about this interior is that outside is all metal, and inside is all wood. It's a kind of use metal to protect that interior. This is a room of my son, his painting and his bed. And again, this relationship of outside and inside that allow the room become much more soft. And work a lot of transparency from outside, the sun coming in, and to another level of stone where it's translucent. Because the street outside is extremely narrow, I have to create something for us to see. So this screen from outside is fabric, from inside is a kind of foliage that is cut this way. And because it's a tower, has 8 floors, and I play around a lot with the section. Like from 6 meter height, there's a big room to an upper floor overlooking down and beyond and beyond. And I think it's also very important that you have the control of what to bring in and what to take out from the room. And this kind of situation that in the backyard, you borrow some of the nicer view to be part of the room. And that kind of arrangement of the screen and the window allow this room to have this kind of quality. Now I move on to another project, which you see a little bit in the video. It's a house I designed for a writer. He has many little buildings that has a sea view like that. And now he wants a little place that he doesn't want to look at the sea. He believes the sea is erosive, in the sense that when you look at the horizon too long, it's depressing. You make you pessimistic. You lost that kind of creativity, the momentum to do something. You lost that, optimism. So he said, I want a house, never want to look at the sea, although it's by the sea. So what it is, this is facing north, and there's a cutter's garden. This is a simple room where he will read, write, and receive some private guests. And outside is a courtyard with a tree, some water, and a spring where he can wash or relax. This project is like many other projects before, is I try to carry on from architecture, interior, to furniture, and even other objects. It's my work, so that it has that continuity, one enhance the other, that within that big context of a space, with light coming in, what is things on the table, how big they should be, where those objects should be put next to each other, big furniture, small furniture, furniture suspended, more soft furniture, movable furniture. So they come together in a kind of composition to make them as though they are talking to each other. And in terms of scale, in terms of material, in terms of relationship of dimension, scale to one another. And from outside, you can see beyond the cutter's garden, the sun is blocked on the upper part. You can see all around on that. And it's like a long room, and here is outdoor. It's a world by itself. So I always believe architecture interiors always should create a world of itself. The furniture is no more just furniture. It's also a partition, separation, like a screen. But also it sort of gives a separation where you, a kind of little place to rest, a little place where you receive guests. I always say, what is the furniture arrangement to make the best house? You look around, or look at the house you have. If it has soft furniture, hard furniture, tall furniture, low furniture, furniture made of lines, furniture made of solid form, and give a good balance of those, usually they tend to be quite okay. If there's a space, too many big furniture, no small furniture, tend to be very bulky. Something like furniture like this, it's putting things away. Usually, a cabinet is very heavy, and then you create a layer of glass. You put a thing, and there's something slide out and put things away. And at the bottom, there's also other things. So within the big volume, there's a layer upon layers of possibility within them. Another project I recently is doing is a house that was inspired by the high mountain in South America. It's made of few pavilions, separated by canals of waters. And they, from one to another, have a kind of, it's like a stepping stones. And when you enter here, it's like an art gallery kind of entrance, dining and living room, a tea room, place to wash, to change, bedroom, and a place to study. This house was more talking about the struggle of every individual in the world. There's always confronting one problem in your life is when you're given an opportunity to build a house, what kind of question you come across in your mind? This is all surrounded by highlands all around. So we cut it off, a kind of a piscine, and again, that kind of interior, inward-looking house. And within that, the light comes in and sort of diffuse everywhere to give the life and the relationship of the house much more clear because they're separated one by one in pavilions. And so their form extremely pure, extremely sort of related to that particular function. So, a place where you study as though I think the act of study is to not to learn just from the book you're studying or the things you do, but actually to understand yourself. And that kind of introvertness of the space that so I always like so much is because it's allowed me to understand myself more. There's a Chinese saying, don't worry about the outside world that do not offer you opportunity. Just worry about that when there's opportunity, you're ready. the kind of material used is like the one layer of glass and then the sliding panel, and then look across, there's another layer. So the different layer of material, they give the background very naturally and washed by light all the time. Very kind of casual. Sometimes the furniture, you don't have to put it in a very formal way. They happen to be like there's something to lean on, something to be freestanding, something to be recessed to the wall, something just by the water is not terribly intentional. But because of the architecture and the interior, it's so supportive. It's like everything we put in there seems to be okay. This is an entrance piece where some of my artwork is being displayed here, some of the new screens and all this. And so you enter here, and it's kind of like a long gallery here. And then you enter the house, layer by layer, room by room. The new collection of 2016 being placed here. A very interesting bedside table with leather. The light catched it from above and dissolved into the surface. And a bed with a back, which you can create a screen to put things away. Some of these furniture, now you can actually see them, touch them in the showroom. This is perhaps one of the most important issues in design today, because we make things work, but to make it work is a basic requirement, a basic expectation than nothing particular. But you have to give something more than that. Something that when you use it, you touch it, you look at it, it moves you, it makes you think, it makes you look deeper to the thing you're looking, but also to yourself. And I think that element of design is quite lacking in today, because we don't have the time to look at this, and we want to be fast, we want to move on. What is next? What is next? And what is next? Do we produce more poets today because of the invention of the computer? Or look back some decades ago when typewriter was invented? Do you think typewriter make better poetry than a fountain pen before? Or in this case, the kind of writing instrument now we become so sophisticated compared to someone just writing on the sand. So I would like to ask you, is what you have today help you to make better poetry? Are the equipment that you have is something that help you to be more creative or not necessary? Think about that. I think beauty of poetry mostly coming from inside. And the kind of inside understanding of the things around you and how to express them in your own observation and sensibility. Please. I was trying to introduce this project I did in Hong Kong for the unification of China with Hong Kong. That they asked me to do a sound system to have that symbolism when China and Hong Kong unified for 10 years, a kind of celebration. It was very, very much inspired by the guzheng. It's a Chinese instrument, more than 3,500 years old. And they have, I think before they have 5 strings, and because of different celebration of victory by the king, and they keep adding 1 string, 2 more strings. And I call this work of mine called stringless pressure, an instrument without string. And what it is has 2 speakers from both sides, connected by a bridge. And the center from here to the center from here is 10 decimeter. It represents the 10-year anniversary of the unification. And this is like a bridge of Hong Kong and China to give that resonance of ideas of two people coming together. This is an artist's booth in my house now. And actually, when you look at it, it's not just two speakers. Actually, here there's 5 speakers. The mid frequency is here, but the high frequency is in the middle. And behind here, there's a subwoofer. So actually, 2, 1 is 5 speakers. It plays iPod, iTouch, iPhone, CD, which is less and less being used, and radio. So you can see that relationship of the 2 cones which produce sound and connected by a bridge like that. It has produced 10 editions. It was all in private collection, and all the money raised was donated back to support the design education in Hong Kong. And I want you to look at it before I come with this idea. Most of the speaker today is like a technical box, just like this, like this. And when you look at them, they don't tell you there's anything musical about it. And imagine before, when the Gujin was playing, it's all music are playing live. They don't have electronic recording or anything like that. So the form of the musical instrument, when you look at it, you see music. You just not listen just the music, but you see music in the form. And I think I don't know why, for so many years, the speakers are like that. I don't know for what reason. The sound coming from here may be better than that. And I don't know, there's a convenience, a kind of a common language, futurism from the Star Wars. I don't know what exactly this is about. And we continue to take that belief that speakers will be like that. The woodwork that anchors all the electronic. When you press this will flip up to play the iPod, iTouch, iPhone, different kind of switch, perfectly match in the kind of a relationship between wood, metal, and stone. Because of this work, which was done 2007, and since then there was a lot of reference for this product. Let's say by B&O, there's the Bill Play sort of taken this form to develop their product, which is made of aluminum and fabric. And even more recently, in two years ago, there was a company called Symbol, and they use pretty much this composition to make a hi-fi system more become like a furniture. Design is this, to give a kind of continuity and improvement from one to the other, so that what we do become better and better, but not worse, or create something visually polluted. Over the last few years, I travel a lot in this part of the world, particularly in the Far East and in China. And I discovered many crafts, traditional crafts that was many years ago been working very well, and in recent years, it's slowly being forgotten. And I look at them, and I feel very pity, to see this kind of craft. This is embroidery. Slowly disappear and lost that continuity and validity in our way of living. And the amount of needlework here, just in this place, is about 2 million needlework. And when you ask the embroiderer, every day they can sew 1 square centimeter. And in front of her, and I go back. And when I visit the workshop when they're doing the embroidery, and this girl was about 25 years old, and in front of her there's a piece of embroidery, 1.5 meters by 2 meters. And I calculate by the time she finished it, perhaps she's 35. And so 10 years of energy was being sort of taken that way. I was very touched by that kind of tolerance and commitment to do something. But at the same time, I believe that the beauty of that embroidery is not necessary to be so, cover everywhere. But because it's so precious, it's just to articulate that part of it, maybe it's enough. So I come up with a design that you don't have to sew anything. This is it's about 1.40 meters diameter. And just embroider 2 crabs. And there's this technique called the double side embroidery. One side you see the back of the crab, and the other side you see the belly of the crab. And this is taken from a very famous painter, Qi Bashi, and he draw crabs with ink. And then on the other side is printed on silk. So the 2 technique, contemporary technique using printing, the most traditional technique. And then this thing can open and close. So when they're open together, slowly open and completely open. So now with this composition, that the work that could be done here is only 2-3 months instead of 10 years. And the effectiveness of that is far more powerful because it's really articulate where exactly is possible in the embroidery, which is so intensive and so beautiful. So Chiba have this painting of the crab. So I have to withdraw the belly of the crab. So when you see it, so on the other side of the screen, you see this. On one side, you see this. So when you look around the screen, the crab seems to be very alive on both sides. And because it was so appreciated, the last year, the APAC meeting, the Asian Pacific Economic Community has a meeting in Beijing, and they use the screen as a background for that meeting. There's another work which is quite, everybody has, not just in the Eastern world, but also in the Western world. It's a fan. You hold it, you feel hot, you use that. But also it's a kind of accessories. You carry with it, it express the kind of elegance. And I was always looking at this fan. What can we do when it's very big? Can it become a furniture? Can it open and close? And how can it be done? This was recently presented in Milan. So there was a lot of investigation of how to hold a fan like this with a balance of the weight and still keep it open without falling apart. It's a very different way of opening than the fan like this. What I'm trying to get into is that when you see an object, you try to change the scale or change the function, and you realize that you cannot just use it as it is. You have to do something to it, to interpret it, to make it work in the context you want, the kind of material you select to it. So that sort of continue to inspire me when I look at anything that is around me. So I said, when I change the scale, this bed or this base or whatever, they always give me a lot of ideas and possibility. So when you look closer, they have the support, and then you move up, and then they completely close. Now half close. So when you see this relation to the metal coming slowly to here, when it's completely closed. So that for me a very, very interesting exercise because you make something work when it's small, but you have to rework that mechanism to become when it's big and they're doing something else. Flower, for example, is something that you always associate with. And everybody believes that the most beautiful part is here. But not necessarily. But look at how the flower drink water and carry the nutrition go to here to nourish the beauty of this. And I think the whole process is also beautiful. And I think this way is trying to express that. Just candle, something very simple. And I think the 1,000th way of doing it. Or how to put objects in a case. You know, how much you care about the things that you have is a lot to do where you put it, how you're going to put it. And I think this furniture is to express that kind of care, the things that you love and how you cherish it. Or sometimes you don't put anything, you just provide a frame to frame a distant landscape as part of that. And recently, I also worked with ink stone. Ink stone is something that is coming from the southern part of China. That's the most important quarry even today. They produce a surface of the stone and use the ink block and you grind it with water and produce ink for calligraphy and painting. And the whole town there is doing it. They craft every day. And I feel extremely pity because the stone was so wasted by continuing to exploit that way. And I think, why don't we look at the ink stone? Since not many people are doing it anymore, can we use it a little bit different? Okay, you can grind ink, but embody another function to it. Here, for example, just sort of to bring the beauty of the landscape to become a part of that, you know, in capture in a miniature, in a smaller scale. Or in this case, work with water. There's a canal here that you fill this with water and it starts to drip. And then when this finishes, an hour and a half later, it's become like a timer. Instead of using sand, you use water. And also there's a beauty of that. Is the water running out, the time running out, you refill it. So time come back again. It's not like a 24 hours from 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. It's water dripping. You have no time, you fill it again. It's like the whole universe. The time is a cycle. It's not linear. It's coming back again and again. Or the kind of indentation on the stone that create a kind of a landscape, a small landscape of water and artifacts within that. I think plants is always coming from the cracks of stones. When you look at nature around it, just a little bit of soil, a little bit of moisture, things grow. And I want to take that idea and create a series of ways, and these are a few of them. Like you know, how things grow in nature, all these little things coming out like that. And I have a stone, just make 2 cuts, and the flower just rests from here. And tulip has a very interesting behavior. If you put it horizontal, in half an hour, it slowly get up. So what I did was I provide 2 little pillows for them to rest. And then when they are very energetic, after half an hour, the flowers slowly rise up. And this is the character and the feature of tulip I discovered many years ago. So I decided this way is just to give them to rest, but has a place also to rise and has water to contain them for them to continue to grow. A flower coming from very little opening, and they just coming out from the crack, whether vertically or horizontally. Or waste as a background for these few lines of branches or the buds coming from here. So I find this extremely important as a waste, because sometimes a waste, sometimes you look at it frontally, and then the background is sort of so noisy that it lost itself. And then provide a background like this, it becomes so much more articulate. And even something not very important becomes very important. Something very simple like a mirror. The balance of a weight projecting to the other side, places that you can hang your chain, put away your ring while you're testing your earring, all this kind of, and it can rotate. And from the other side, it's like the moon, and from the front side, it's like the sun. So on both sides, it has this kind of dialogue of relating back to the universe. This mirror is coming from Egypt as well. And that time, they don't have mirror. They polish the metal to become shiny as a mirror. And that inspired me to think of a mirror like that. When I work on objects or furniture, I'm always with the craftsmen, because that's a very important moment of creativity. One morning, when we are working on this tray, and the morning sun comes in, and we are turning the machine, and the light hit the tray, and I realized that they had kind of a ripple effect. And then I said, stop. Why don't we just do that and create the kind of ripples coming from the cutting of that? And the tray is sort of it doesn't need to be a tray anymore, but it's kind of a reference to something very simple in nature. The calmness of a ripple, a drop of water coming to the center of the tray, to give the beauty of that. This is a tower, again, a tower in Athens. When the sun hits it so much on the surface, and how do you have those things? This for plants, and that plainness of the wall to give a little articulation that let the shadow to cast on it, and the protection of the stone with a particular material to make that wall sort of like to receive the sun, to anticipate the sun, to make that wall, what should I say, speak to the sun that is hitting on it. Few walls after the dirty rain coming from Africa, it's all the mud together with the rain on the wall, and give that kind of roughness, on the surface and related to the sky and shadow. It's like it's a place where you communicate, far beyond than the house. There's an opening here to see the messiness of the city in the distance. Artificial light, natural light, and how they're being caught in between those screens from outside that reflect between the thickness and grow within itself. And the light sort of, at the emptiness of the engraving, allow the light sort of to express another element on the surface. There's another thing about design which I hope you will never overlook it, because without that, it's no more design. I go back again to that question, are we become more intelligent now? In Egypt, we build tall structure by piling them up with stone, one on top of the other, to create that pyramid. A very flat base, very, very high point. Look at the scale of a person, and to this enormous pyramid. Each block is about 2.5 meters by 1.5 meters. That time, we built tall building with stone. And we still do not know how they did it. A lot of theory. And today, we build tall building with glass and metal. Are we become more intelligent? Or we just change the media? I mean, Stone Age, people use stone. Plastic age, people use plastic. Computer age, people use computer. Does not mean that computer age is better than the Stone Age, because that time this is the best resources they work with. That's the best idea they came up with to make that to happen. So I continue question about the intelligence of us. When something wrong, it wants to move. Do you know that? Look around. When it's wrong, there's a reason for it. So when I work with wrong, I want them to move, to rotate on an axis or whatever that is. And then movement actually generates a lot of things. And actually for my life, I'm working with some very simple geometry, a circle and a square, never complicated and anything. And I more and more realize a circle and square become more and more difficult because a circle has one radius, all the same when you rotate. A square has 490 degrees and with straight edge. Those are very difficult to accomplish. Don't underestimate them. Things that turn can be turned this way, the other way, and making all kinds of possibility for your daily life to make it easier to put things away, to hide them, to lock them, and yet still when it's closed, it becomes an element standing there. Very fundamental. How do you wash your headboard when it's made of fabric? And so you release this thing from the back, and you take this out to wash, dry wash, wet wash, whatever that is. And I think something that any person taking care of their house properly will thinking, how to deal with those problems. And they are so fundamental and so necessary. We always design a bed, have nothing to do with this, or never look at those problems correctly. Or when you use wood in a very soft context like this, how the leather can give the softness of the wood and give the very articulate profile, that protection on the back around you. This furniture, a lot of people are talking about it, and it can rotate, and there's two sensors. One is for the top. When you move, it turn on the light. When you move this, it turn off the light. So it's like a light and a reading light. And you can use it next to chaiselong, next to a sofa, next to a bed, whatever. It has all kinds of possibility around it. Again, it's very fundamental. The reason I always want my bed freestanding is because the headboard is always like a low screen. It allows you to have a place to sleep and a place to work or do other things. So in this case, at the back of the bed is like a little library, so it's another room. But more important, when you enter to the room, you don't see the mess in the morning when you have not made your bed and you left to work. Again, rotation. When things rotate, they do all kinds of things, all kinds of possibility coming out. Like here, that when you turn in different position, you reveal the content, or you close it like that. Something very simple, when you enter the house or when you leave the house, you want to take a look at yourself. Are you ready to leave? Or you pick up your key? You come back, or you put your umbrella away, or you take the umbrella, or hang a little close. It's just a few lines, and a little something suspended here and there, and make the whole thing works. And because my daughter is